Hi, this is James Melendez, James the Wine Guy, here to share and celebrate this wine with you today. It's a familiar label to many of you out there. It's widely distributed in the United States. It's Gruet. It's a Brut, non-vintage, and it's a 12% alcohol content wine. And so you can review the label, the package itself here. Great success story, and it shows this amazing story of Gilbert Gruet, who is coming from Champagne, and in the early 80s, traveling with his family to New Mexico, visiting European winemakers that have just landed in New Mexico, because you think of New Mexico being the oldest wine producing region in the country, from the Spanish settlers, so probably in the 16th century onward, and for logical reasons that I've talked about in other videos, is you needed sacramental wines. Of course, you're not going to transport wines to this very, very far region that's far removed even from Mexico when it was being settled. So you had to actually transport the vines themselves, because otherwise you're not going to get wine. Now, so for a couple hundred years, there's a great amount of acreage. And then you have a flood, and that takes it away over 100 years ago. And then you have Prohibition, which is if the flood in the central part of New Mexico, which is Rio Grande Valley, was not destructive enough, then you have Prohibition, which is furthermore destructive. So you don't have a renaissance in New Mexico wine until, say, the late 70s. People are starting to think about this because wine is being much more interested in terms of Americans are drinking more wine, and this culture of wine was starting up. And you have European winemakers who understood maybe you can do a lot of different wine grapes here. So Syrah, Dolcetto, Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, etc., etc. So Gilbert Gruet is traveling in the Southwest and is meeting with other winemakers and European winemakers. And there's a leap of faith of saying, I think I'm going to grow Pinot Noir and Chardonnay here, and I'm going to create sparkling wines. That is, first of all, it wasn't done before. Secondly, if you're going to grow sparkling wine grapes, Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, I don't believe they've ever grown Pinot Meunier, but that is a leap of faith. It's hard to do when everything is right and the perfect conditions are just right. But then that harkens to the story of Champagne. Champagne should not be a wine growing region for its difficulty of growing wine grapes, hence non-vintage most years. New Mexico is just, has some great climate profiling, which is you have the Rio Grande, which is where this wine is coming from, the banks of the Rio Grande in TRC, Truth or Consequences. It's about 150 miles south of Albuquerque, and from there you have high elevation, you have warmer temperatures in the daytime, and you have a coolness in nighttime based on elevation and also proximity to the Rio Grande River. So for those two things, things line up. The stars line up just correctly. And a leap of faith of just creating sparkling wines in a really difficult environment in terms of thinking about how am I going to get this wine distributed once I make it. So I think there's a successive number of leaps of faith that went through Gilbert Gruet and his children as well. And so hence we have this beautiful sparkling wine. And I'll tell you more about Gruet in terms of their other lineup. For me, I think it's a really great sparkler. First of all, I love champagne. I adore it. J'adore it. However, it is, can be expensive for some really great champagne. There's so many different champagne styles anyway. But for me, sometimes I just want something for a Friday with potato chips or fish or whatever I want to enjoy. And I don't want to spend $55, $60, $70, $80. But for me, this is about 14 US dollars retail price point. That's a really good deal based on the quality of the wine. And I think that's just remarkable to have this quality of wine being produced. So total, they're producing about 125,000 cases. They have this winery that's based on, it's actually on the freeway in Albuquerque, on the Pan American Freeway, I-25. Easy to visit. And something that's just like, wow, all the wine's coming from here? That's kind of amazing when you think about it. So when I'm there, that's what I'm thinking. I've been there twice. So here we go. Take a taste and give you some flavor characteristics and send feedback. Here we go. First of all, I love to pour my sparkling wine glasses in a burgundy glass. I want to really smell the wine. This is a really clean, fresh, flinty, mineral, biscuit, definitely citrus-oriented wine, just on the scent. And for me, I'm getting, look at beautiful sparkling action. Of course, a lot of people want a flute. Well, if you have a flute, you're not going to be able to swirl around and really get that flavor characteristic and scent characteristic. So That's why I do that. I recommend that. For me, it's my favorite thing to do. So on the flavor profile, getting beautiful notes of green apple, Kamas pear in late season, some lemon curd and lemon zest. A beautiful characteristic, a little bit of nut quality such as almond, and brioche on the finish. This is an 8.9 wine out of a 10.0 scale. For more wine reviews, please go to jamesthewineguy.com. Please subscribe to my videos on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Vimeo, Google+, Pinterest. Salud.